Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are doing really well. And this is the international break, and we move over from club football to the international football scene. And the next at least 1.5 weeks will be mostly about international football. So if you like international football, please do like and share the video. And also if you like my videos in general, please subscribe to the channel as well. And today we are going to be discussing round 4 of CONMEBOL qualifiers. So leave me your predictions, leave me your opinions about South American World Cup qualifiers. What do you think will happen as well in the comments? So let's get into it. So starting off, we got a very interesting game. We got Colombia taking on Uruguay. Now Uruguay, I watched their second game against Ecuador and they looked leggy. After 45 minutes they looked leggy, and that is very untypical Bielsa team. They looked leggy, they looked tired, they looked fatigued, and this team does have some good workhorses in there, Ugarte being one. And then they lose to Ecuador as well. And Colombia, they weren't fantastic, but they got the results. They drew with Chile 0-0 away, which isn't the worst result in the world, and they beat Venezuela. Now, if I look at this Colombia team, there's a lot of talent, like we said. You got Luis Diaz, Sinistera, I think he will be involved in some capacity. Duran seems like a good talent. And I think they will cause Uruguay problems. I think Colombia will be able to exploit them defensively because Uruguay will leave a lot of space behind. As we know, typical Bielsa side, they like to attack. And therefore, defensive transition is considered a weakness. Now, personally, who's the players to watch out in this game? I would say for Colombia, of course, it's Luis Diaz. But also, Rafael Borre Santos. He's a really wild card striker. He scored the win against Venezuela as well, so I think he'll have a big role. For, of course, Uruguay, I would say Freddy Valverde. I think Ugarte is going to be, depending on how good Ugarte is able to control the game, that Uruguay will be able to influence gain their influence in this game. Personally, though, I think this is going to be a very good game to watch. I think it'll be mostly Uruguay having most of possession, but also Colombia will show their qualities and will have spells in the game where they'll push Uruguay back. Personally, though, in my opinion, this is going to be Colombia 1, Uruguay 1. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, loads of fun in this game. I expect goals, I expect chances to be created, and I expect a lot of chances to be missed. Moving over, we got Bolivia taking on Ecuador. Ecuador has started pretty well under Felix Sanchez. Now, they're on 0 points, but technically on 3 after they got a minus 3 point deduction. Now they're going to have to travel to La Paz to take on Bolivia. Bolivia, they have been on a downward curve. They are the only team in CONMEBOL this cycle not to get a point in this World Cup qualifier so far. They're going to take on a very good Ecuador team. An Ecuador team that's going to have Caicedo, that's going to have Estupinian, that's going to have Henkip. Ecuador at the moment feels like a talent factory. They're getting a lot of talent through Kendry Paez, who did play against Uruguay. I was surprised that Felix Sanchez actually played him from the start. I thought he'd be used as an impact player, but he didn't. He put him in the deep end. Now, it's not going to be easy for Ecuador because of the altitude and all that, but Ecuador, I think, are professional enough. They know what to do. They themselves play in similar conditions. I think they have a good chance of winning this game. Bolivia themselves have been on a bit of a downward curve. When I watched their game against Argentina, something didn't feel right. I don't think they're quite able to get results anymore like they used to back in the days. And personally, I think Ecuador are a rising nation in world football. I do want to keep an eye on Ecuador because they are going to be a very good nation with talent coming up in the next years. Caicedo, Pais, many other talents are out there in Ecuadorian football. Personally, though, I just can't see anything other than an Ecuador win. I am going to go 2-0 for Ecuador. Moving over, we've got Argentina take on Paraguay. So, Paraguay have had a coaching change. So, in their first 2 games, they did not look good. They sacked the coach and brought in a new coach. Let's see how they do against probably the most difficult game of the campaign as they travel to Argentina. Now, Argentina, they won 4-1 against Bolivia, but Bolivia had a man sent off. And against Ecuador, it was a Messi free kick. Now, the one thing that for the Argentines does go for is Lionel Messi is in the squad. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Scaloni uses him. Is Scaloni going to pick him? Is he going to be used off the bench? I'm really excited to see Argentina without Messi, though. That's going to be the one that's going to tell us who's the next gen. I am looking at you, Enzo Fernandez, because I think he's going to be the most important player for Argentina going forward. His passing range, his dynamism in the midfield, he can provide a lot of options for Argentina. And I know he's not Messi. Enzo will never be Messi, talent-wise, skill-wise even. But Enzo Fernandez, in my opinion, is the future of Argentinian football. But still, Leo Messi's in the squad. Scaloni did pick him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he uses Messi, because Messi is meant to be injured. Now, at home against Paraguay, I do expect Argentina to win. But if I look at the last couple of games, Argentina-Paraguay have been much, much closer. If you look at Copa America, where they made the semi-final, I think it was 2021, where it was behind lockdown. And it was 1-1 or 0-0, can't remember exactly. In the qualifiers, it was 1-0 at home. So Argentina will know they will not take this game lightly. Of course, Scaloni will want to try out new players, but I do think it will be the continuation from the 11 that we saw from the previous game. I think one position that will probably need deciding is the striker position. Do you start Alvarez? Do you start Lautaro? Who do you start on the left wing? Do you put Di Maria there? Do you give Nico Gonzalez a chance again? So Scaloni has a question to answer. And I think the new manager bounce for Paraguay is going to be a tight one. I think Argentina will dominate most of the ball, with Paraguay, of course, having a threat on the counter, with Almiron being the main guy. And Cisa not being there is a blow. But personally, I am going to go Argentina 1, Paraguay 0. I think it's going to be a close game. Moving over, we got the derby. It's Chile versus Peru. And it's a big game for both sides. Whoever wins this one will feel confident of making at least the 6th position of this World Cup qualifiers, which means automatic qualification. Now, if I look at this Chile team, it has been on a massive downward curve. You see this team from 2015, you see this team from 2016. Compared to now, it's downward curve. And not much talent is coming through. You got Ben Berens and Diaz, who seems like a good player. Arturo Vidal still going strong, but he's shadow of himself. You got Sanchez, similar case, but he's gone back to Inter. You got Nunez from Norwich as well. So there are some decent players, and I think this Peru side isn't anything brilliant. I know they pushed Brazil in the first game, but if I look at that Peruvian team, there's not much talent. I watched them in 2018, and bit by bit, that swagger that Peru had in that 2018 World Cup is gone. Now they're just very, very boring, defensive-minded team. Whenever I see Peru, I'm like, oh no, here we go again. And personally, look, I think Chile don't have enough quality to break this Peruvian defense down. I think Chile will dominate most of the ball, but I just don't think they're going to have enough. I don't think they've got enough quality now to beat Peru, personally. And I think this is going to be a 0-0 draw. I just don't think either team will have enough to win this game, personally, in my opinion. And I don't think either team will have enough to score as well. It's going to be a really boring 0-0. Moving over, we've got Brazil taking on Venezuela. So Fernando Diniz, his 3rd game in charge. Two very mixed bag, I would say. They went to Peru and struggled. They beat Bolivia quite comfortably. And Diniz Mio is in full swing. Now, I think this one's going to be a good test as well for Brazil. Venezuela, the way they played against Colombia, the way they played against Paraguay was impressive, to say the least. It was very, very impressive in my opinion. They played with a lot of confidence, they played with a plan, and the talent the Venezuelan squad has been blossoming. It's one of the youngest squad in CONMEBOL qualifiers. Now, if I look at our Brazil team, there has been some selection that we had Tobas. So finally, Brazil looks like it's got its left back sorted. So Carlos Augusto is Brazil's left back, as he said no to Italy, yes to Brazil. So I think that's going to be interesting. But I think this is going to be a good test for Brazil as well, because Venezuela are no mugs. Venezuela have shown what they can do, and I personally think it's going to be a very enjoyable game. I think Brazil should have enough based on the quality they have, but you just never know. I still think Brazil at home are a formidable force. I don't think they lost a game at home for a while now. I can't remember Brazil losing a home game in qualifiers. It's mental. So that's why I do think Brazil will win, but I think Venezuela will cause them a few problems. And I think Venezuela themselves will give them themselves a good account. I think it's going to be, I think personally, 3-0 to Brazil. Now we move into round 2. So this is a big game as well for Venezuela. So Venezuela, we discussed about Venezuela earlier on. Now we are discussing their game versus Chile. Now Venezuela at home, winning late against Paraguay. I think they can do something similar against Chile. Chile, look, like we discussed earlier on, aren't the best. I think at the moment, I saw both of their games. I saw Chile and I saw Venezuela. I was like, oh, this Venezuelan team has something about it. It played with confidence, it played with swagger, it was defensive solid, and they looked like they were able to compete with the better nations. Their performance against Colombia mainly. And I think Chile themselves, look, they got a good draw against Colombia, but I just don't think they're that good anymore. And I think going away to Venezuela, Venezuelan crowd will be absolutely up for it. And I think that's why, I think this is going to be my surprise. I think Venezuela are going to shock Chile, and I'm going to go 1-0. I think Venezuela got a lot more energy about them. The way they play is much more what we call positive. You get an idea what they're trying to do compared to Chile, who just seems ball possession, not much end product. It feels genuinely like that only. Now, Chile, of course, they have quality. They have players with moments in them that could come and turn it on. Ben Berrettini, Diaz, Sanchez, Vidal, they could all just go, bang, we will click into gear, or they'll take an amazing shot and it's a goal. And ideally for Venezuela, they cannot go behind in this sort of game. They need to be the one that need to take the lead, get the fans on side, get a toxic atmosphere going for the opposition, and then they're able to control the game, put those niggly fouls in if you need to as well. But personally, my shock, I think Venezuela are going to beat Chile 1-0. Moving over, we've got Paraguay take on Bolivia, and this is an absolute must-win. Absolute must-win for Paraguay. There's no excuses. If they cannot beat Bolivia, the weakest team in qualifiers at home, I don't think they deserve to be in the top 7. Simple. They haven't been good enough in their last 2 games under the previous coach. Let's see what sort of Paraguay we get under the new coach. I personally think Bolivia are not that great. I don't think they've got much quality. Their league's not that great either. Their talent pool isn't great either. And I think there's a reason why they are bottom of the table and without a point in qualifiers. And personally, Bolivia have played 2 very difficult games in Argentina and Brazil. But I just think Paraguay away is going to be a defeat. I think Almiron will probably click into gear. Paraguay know this is a big game, so I do think Paraguay will play with a lot of intent, and I think that's going to get them enough here. I'm going to go 1-0 to Paraguay. Moving over, we got to talk about Ecuador. Ecuador take on Colombia. Big game again. This could be the game that we look at and be like, this was a good watch. And I do think both teams should have it quite easily to qualify, but I think it's a very, very good game. I think Ecuador, like we said, loads of talent. Colombia, they all want to prove their point, and they're not finished yet. They are a good footballing nation. Going away to Ecuador will not be easy though for Colombia. And I think the likes of Paez, Caicedo, who both seem very comfortable in this 3-man midfield at the moment, Caicedo especially. And I like what I see from Ecuador. And to an extent, I wasn't that impressed with Colombia's results in, of course, the first window where they beat Venezuela 1-0 at home. I thought it would be at least 2-3-0. They didn't even create that many chances. Then they went away to a pretty poor Chile side and didn't win. Compared to Ecuador, who beat Uruguay. For me, the winner is clear in this one. I think Ecuador are a better nation at the moment. I think they're playing a better style of football. I think the players they got are better quality. And I think, personally, Ecuador are going to win. So, I'm going to go Ecuador 2, Colombia 1. And this is my shock at the window. Ecuador will get 6 points out of 6. Paraguay will get 3. Bolivia will get none. Venezuela will get 3. Chile will get, in my opinion, 1. Another exciting matchup we got here is Uruguay take on Brazil. This is going to be an absolute attacking fest. You got Marcelo Bielsa, high attacking, high training football, against Fernando Dini's position on relation, where they are. You just don't know where each player going to be, and I think that could come good against a team like Uruguay, who defensively themselves aren't that great. So imagine you got a player in a certain position where you just don't expect him to be. It's a very, very unpredictable system, the Fernando Dini's system is. And I think going away to a team like Uruguay, who might find it difficult, but Uruguay themselves do have a lot of quality, of course they do. Darwin Núñez, if he can find his finishing boot, is probably a very, very good striker. Pelestri, who has had good cameos for United, I don't think he's been that good, but he's had some good cameos, I would say. Derek Cruz, he has a very, very good... He's a very, very important player for River Plate. I still think they're missing Bentancur in that midfield. Of course, they are that controlling element. But I just think this is going to be a really exciting game. I don't know why. I think both teams are going to play their game. Uruguay with their high pressing, high attacking system where they're going to push a lot of men forward. You're going to have Brazil with their, of course, attacking style of play and players being in cluster, playing the ball around like a street football. I think this is going to be the game of the window. I cannot wait for this game. It's going to be a brilliant game. But Uruguay will need to find a way to sustain themselves over 90 minutes. They can't just play well for 45 minutes and then get tired. Otherwise, Brazil will shred them to bits, personally, in my opinion. Now, it is early day for Bielsa, so I think that's why this might happen. Plus, in the previous management under Diego Alonso, Oscar Tabares, they played a very conservative style of football. So they're not used to pressing so high, fighting for the ball like they are. So I think that might take some time. And that's why I'm going to go with Uruguay 2, Brazil 3. I think Brazil aren't that good defensively. They're vulnerable defensively. If you attack the right areas, you can hurt them. I think Peru lacked that clinical edge and Bolivia scored. So I think this is going to be an exciting one. I think it's going to be the game of the window. I'm going to go 2 to Uruguay, 3 to Brazil. And a lot of fun to talk about. Moving over, we got Peru take on Argentina. And Peru at home did give themselves a good account. It took a 90th minute Marquinhos winner for Brazil to get all 3 points. And definitely Argentina's not going to have it easy. Argentina, if you look at the most of their qualified results, they are always very, very close games. But it's that quality that gets them through it. Now, Lionel Scaloni, I think this is a time he has to look to be building Argentina without Messi. I think so far, if you look at Scaloni's spell, is Messi, which is correct, which is the correct approach. But now it's time for the next step. As an Argentina coach, Messi's not going to be around forever, is he? And I think these are the sort of games where you need to see the others step up without Messi, without his quality. I'm looking at Enzo, I'm looking at Lautaro, Julian Alvarez, I'm looking at many other players. Now, Argentina, they have played a pretty static 4-3-3. I think Scaloni might go to a 4-4-2 for this game. Maybe try Alvarez and Lautaro up front. Again, this Peruvian backline, who I'm sure will play a pretty defensive style of football, look to contain Argentina and then go on the counter themselves, which they did, I thought, well against Brazil. But I think, again, just like Brazil, I think Argentina is just going to be slightly too good for them. Peru's energy will be focused on the Chile game, which they can win. So I think they might go a bit, what you call, slightly easier on the Argentina game as well. And personally, I think it's going to be Argentina 2, Peru 0. But anyway, this was my South American qualifiers, Matchday 3, Matchday 4 preview. If you like the video, please do like and share the video. If you like my videos in general, please subscribe to the channel as well. Leave me opinions in the comments down below as well. Leave me your predictions in the comments down below as well. Leave me your opinions in the comments down below. Leave me everything in the comments. And I hope to see you later for another video.